The crowd got into the game in the second half, very much by starting to chant, "We won 100." And they started their chant about my 60th point.
On March 2nd, 1962, inside a small hockey arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania, a moment occurred that has stood at the center of basketball history and basketball controversy for more than 60 years. The Philadelphia Warriors defeated the New York Knicks 169 to 147 in a fast-paced, high-scoring matchup that looked more like an all-star exhibition than a league game. But it wasn't the final score that shocked the world. It was the unbelievable claim that one man, Wilt Chamberlain, scored exactly 100 points in a single night. No NBA player before or after has come close. No one has touched the record. No one has even approached it. The closest performance in modern history came from Kobe Bryant's 81 points, still a distant second. But what makes Wilt's 100-point game so intriguing is not the number, but the mystery surrounding it. There is no full video footage, no complete radio broadcast, only a few grainy photos, a scorebook written by hand, and memories retold decades later. So tonight, we break down the entire story, using evidence, eyewitness accounts, historical documents, and your reference files, to answer the question every fan has asked at least once. Did Wilt Chamberlain really score 100 points? Or is this the biggest myth in NBA history? Let's begin. The strange setting. Why Hershey, Pennsylvania? To understand this controversy, you first have to understand the unusual setting. The Philadelphia Warriors weren't even playing in their home city. Instead, they were in Hershey, Pennsylvania, a place famous for chocolate factories, not professional basketball arenas. The Hershey Sports Arena was mainly used for ice hockey and small local events, and it lacked the advanced lighting, media booths, and broadcast facilities you'd expect for a historic NBA moment. There were barely any reporters, almost no photographers, and absolutely no national media interest. The game wasn't televised, no major radio broadcast covered it, and even local TV stations didn't bother sending a crew. At that time, the NBA simply wasn't treated as a major sport. Ironically, inside this small, quiet, almost forgotten venue, fans who came for casual entertainment unknowingly witnessed the most debated performance in basketball history. Wilt's superhuman 1961-62 season, the build-up to 100. Before we question the authenticity of the 100-point game, we must acknowledge the sheer dominance of the man behind it. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't just a star. He was a physical phenomenon unlike anything basketball had seen. During the 1961-62 season, he averaged an astonishing 50.4 points per game, a record that sounds unreal even by today's standards. Wilt rarely rested, playing almost every minute of every game, using his unmatched height, power, and stamina to overwhelm defenders. Throughout that season, scoring 60 or even 70 points became almost normal for him. As your reference file notes, Wilt broke long-standing records nearly every night, making extraordinary performances look routine. Yet, despite all this dominance, jumping from a 70-point night to a 100-point explosion is still a massive leap, one that naturally raises questions. And that's exactly where the mystery begins. The opponent, the undermanned New York Knicks. To understand how Wilt managed to reach such an unbelievable scoring total, we have to look closely at his opponent that night, the New York Knicks. Their lineup was severely weakened. Their starting center, Darrell Imhoff, got into foul trouble early and spent long periods on the bench. Without him, the Knicks had almost no size or strength available to defend Wilt inside the paint. They were forced to rely on much smaller, tired players who simply could not match Wilt's physical presence. The mismatch was so extreme that some of Wilt's teammates later joked he could have scored 200 points if the Knicks kept fouling out. But this imbalance fuels the controversy even more. The Knicks weren't just shorthanded, they were exhausted, frustrated, and at times barely playing real defense. Which leads to the question, was this truly competitive basketball or just domination over an overmatched team? The game's bizarre pace and lack of defense. This matchup looked nothing like modern basketball, and not even like the NBA of the 80s or 90s. The pace was unusually fast, with both teams firing shots almost immediately without running structured plays. Defensive pressure was minimal, fast breaks were constant, and players were encouraged to shoot quickly, creating an inflated number of scoring opportunities. The combined 316 points still stand as one of the highest totals in NBA history, showing just how chaotic and offense-heavy the game was. This environment made Wilt's 100 points more possible, but it also makes the achievement feel somewhat manufactured rather than purely miraculous. The fourth quarter, a game or a stat-padding mission. Most doubts about the record come from how strangely the final quarter unfolded. Many witnesses say Wilt's teammates abandoned normal basketball and focused entirely on giving him the ball every possession. Their goal wasn't to win, it was to push his scoring as high as possible. The Warriors even committed intentional fouls to stop the clock and get the ball back quicker so Wilt could shoot again. Meanwhile, the Knicks responded by fouling everyone except Wilt just to keep the ball out of his hands. The game turned into a stat-chasing contest rather than real competition, raising serious questions about how legitimate the final number truly was. The scorekeeping problem. Can we trust the numbers? One of the biggest controversies is how poorly the game was documented. There were no digital scoreboards, no computers, and no automated tracking. Everything was recorded by hand. One person kept the official scorebook, another manually updated the scoreboard, and a third announced totals over the loudspeaker. If even a single scorer made a mistake, there was no technology to verify or correct it. Historians openly admit the record-keeping was extremely limited compared to modern standards. The most famous performance in NBA history was tracked with pencil and paper during an unusually fast and chaotic game, making complete accuracy questionable and impossible to confirm. Why the NBA needed this record? In 1962, the NBA was far from the global powerhouse it is today. Attendance was low, revenue was limited, and public interest was minimal. The league desperately needed a superstar who could draw national attention, sell tickets, and elevate the sport. Wilt Chamberlain was that superstar. And a 100-point game was the kind of headline that could save a struggling league. The story was too perfect. A dominant player, a magical night, and a historic achievement that no one else could match. It is not proof that the record was artificially enhanced, but it does suggest the league had every reason to promote it aggressively, even if the evidence wasn't solid. The evidence we do have, how reliable is it? What remains of the 100-point game is surprisingly sparse. There is a single staged photograph of Wilt holding a piece of paper with the number 100 written on it. There is a partial audio recording of the final seconds, captured by a local radio station. There are newspaper reports written with minimal first-hand observation. And there is a handwritten box score that no independent party verified. That's it. The NBA's most sacred individual record has less documentation than many high school games today. The lack of film leaves every detail open to interpretation. Without visual proof, we will never know exactly how the game unfolded, how accurate the scoring was, or whether mistakes were made in the chaos. Could Wilt actually have done it? To be fair, Wilt Chamberlain was one of the most extraordinary athletes the sport has ever seen. His physical dominance, scoring ability, and endurance were unmatched, and he already had multiple 60 and 70-point games that same season. So under the perfect circumstances, a fast-paced game, minimal defensive pressure, and huge mismatches, it's entirely possible that Wilt could have legitimately reached 100 points. The real issue isn't whether he was capable, it's whether the evidence is strong enough to prove it. With no full video, no complete audio, and only handwritten records to rely on, the proof is simply too thin for absolute certainty. And that's what keeps the mystery alive. Did Wilt truly hit 100? Or is it a legend polished by the NBA over time? But in the end, whether Wilt truly scored 100 or the legend grew larger over time, one thing is certain. The mystery keeps the moment alive. This story isn't just about numbers. It's about the magic of basketball history. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share for more untold sports stories.